Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalrin, and what if we had an arena without pillars? You know, pillars, these things that every druid loves, just about every single healer loves, and it's probably the easiest way to counter some of the ranged classes in the game. In arena, usually pillars come in many shapes and sizes. Some are just pillars, some are boxes, some can even be gravestones, and some can be really anything your heart imagines. Rocks, I guess, could work. But the idea of pillars has been basically a thing in PvP since forever, but I got to thinking, what if we didn't have pillars? What if WoW PvP worked slightly differently? And there's one of those things I feel like that has a polarizing effect to the community when it comes to PvP, because I see many sides, but when it comes to pillars and utilizing in-game mechanics in order to win some of the PvP matches, you will really get two different audiences. For example, watching PS Hero 2v1 at 2700 in 2v2s. That man utilized the idea of 2v2s where dampening comes in effect, and eventually dampening gets so high that healing is basically zero. Dampening is an effect that comes in and is needed currently in WoW arenas, especially when you have really high rated teams going against one another. It basically is a countdown, a timer, a lot like how a boss has for a raid. It's your own rage timer. Eventually, this is going to be the time where you're going to wipe. You can't do the fight the whole time. It eventually has to come to an end. You either beat the timer or you lose. The dampening mechanic is a mechanic where the amount of healing you can receive and throw out gets lower as time goes on in arena. In 2v2 arenas, I believe it starts at 20% of the get-go and starts climbing as soon as the arena begins, and it can reach to 100 fairly quickly if you have a fair amount of patience. PS Hero used everything that is given in the game and everything that his class can do in order to beat a Shadow Priest and a Restoration Shaman. If you look at the comments, you'll see so many people saying, wow, that was so cool, and other people saying, hey, stop fighting like a bitch, get out of stealth, great way to utilize mechanics. Personally, I feel like for the game that we have, for the rules that are written for 2v2, I felt like a player such as PS Hero did a really good job. He pushed the class to its limit, he did what he's supposed to do, he played the class as it was intended by developers. He is facing a 2v1 situation, which is a situation you just cannot win, and he utilized the mechanic of dampening in 2v2s in order to beat a team that did flag his teammate. If you watch the video, and I'll hopefully have a link down in the description below for it, the other enemy team did flag his teammate after killing them. So it's really hard to feel bad for the other team, but the general mechanics of WoW PvP and some of the things that are normal for us, like pillars and dampening, are just so common. When you go look at some of the other forum posts talking about the idea of pillars and some of the mechanics that some people outside of World of Warcraft might find silly, these are the things that, I don't know, is it possible to have a game without? Like the idea of dampening, or the idea of pillars, or the idea of overall having to hide from each other and hug the pillar to no ends in order to, I guess, you know, beat the opposition. And I guess one of the ways I can look at it is, what if World of Warcraft was the Battle for Azeroth cinematic, where Anduin did stay at his ground, he had a sword, he pummeled the troll to the ground, and then he battle-rezzed everybody. You didn't see Anduin run around the pillar for 5 minutes, did you, as a priest? You did not. It's one of those things where people talk about, what if you didn't have LOS and maybe we had to work slightly differently? What if rogues just couldn't sit in stealth 24/7? What if we didn't have this high amount of pillar humping that we have? And I guess from a rogue's perspective, as an outlaw rogue, I kind of need stealth. Otherwise, I can't compete with warriors who are designed to fight outside of stealth and do just fine. I can't compete against paladins if I don't utilize stealth and openers. I can't compete with death knights because my class simply wasn't built like that. Most rogues are playing how their class is built, and their class is built with stealth. And for the most part, I wouldn't blame the player, I wouldn't really blame the class. If anything, you can blame the game and maybe even developers for designing like that. But if you are seeing a rogue literally running around an arena waiting for dampening, waiting until all his cooldowns are back up before he opens on you, he's simply playing to his advantage with the class. Now, some of you might agree and say, oh, you know, he's kind of being a bitch, he's kind of being coward, he's just waiting until he has all of his cooldowns, that's just not fair, what is the other guy supposed to do? Rogues have a fairly easy way of getting away from like the eyes in arena, like, especially when it comes to like 5v1 duels that we do regularly on the channel. And I mean, there's one hand of, yeah, it's kind of cowardly and it's not really fun, it's not really showboating, but then the other is, he's playing to the mechanic, and if he doesn't, he loses. No matter what he does, his class isn't built to be able to play outside of his mechanic. Let's say you have a warrior and a rogue fight each other, and the rogue just never stealths, never vanishes. That is playing up to the warrior's strengths. Does that make the rogue less cowardly? A lot of people also approach the situation from a mindset of their own class, and I feel like it's a bit... I mean, I feel like we can look outside that. Like, warriors would say, yeah, rogues are just being pussies, they're just sitting in stealth all the time. If they were to come up like a real man and fight me, then it would be a real normal fight. If a rogue is playing up to the warrior's hands, the warrior is gonna lose, and if the warrior is one of those closed-minded players that believes that you should be out of stealth and not be hiding, otherwise that makes you anything lesser, and it makes the duels any lesser, I mean... The game has so many classes that play so differently, and to have so many various playstyles and then mix it together with part of your playstyle is the fact that you can run around Pillar forever, makes me ask a question: is it possible to make World of Warcraft feel more like a different type of game in general, in terms of PvP at the very least? The PvE content can stay as it is, they can literally keep it as it is, but if they could somehow do something different for PvP. I think some of the things that I would consider when it comes to PvP would maybe add a little bit more of class responsibility. For example, if you're in an arena and a healer is healing you, I feel like it should be split responsibility between you and the healer to watch out for your own defenses. Let's say you have a healer who has a bunch of different blessings that make you take less damage, he can cleanse yourself of stuff, he can top you right off, and all you have to do is run around and deal damage. And that's more or less how some casters function, and I guess some combinations of arena function in arena right now. But what if it was more about personal responsibility? For example, with an Assassination Rogue. Assassination Rogue is a great class to play with a healer. You have a lot of personal responsibility, from being able to pre-feint certain abilities to crowd controlling. Then there's also Crimson Vial, which you should probably start stacking early if you're expecting the enemy to attack. So in a way, you would be doing half of the healing and damage reduction compared to, let's say, a healer providing all the healing and damage reduction. So it would kind of be a split role just for PvP. If we had the game with a little bit more of self-defensives for a lot more classes rather than be like a full, you're just a glass cannon, you might have one defensive, maybe two, and you might have one way of healing for a very, very short moment. I feel like if we were to maybe go back to, I feel like I'm repeating myself, Pandaria days where a lot more classes had a lot more tools in order to be self-sufficient, then I think it would be more of an interesting game for PvP. I don't really know how that would affect healers. Let's say for a healer to be able to try to, you know, top a mage off, and if the mage isn't being responsible and isn't popping his cooldowns in order to help the healer's healing mean anything. Let's say, for example, the mage is just getting completely cut in half by a warrior, and if the mage doesn't pop a defensive to reduce the damage it takes, so then the healing can supersede the damage, then it would have a situation where healers feel less useful. For a healer to be able to top someone off and just keep a whole team alive, literally through onslaughts of enemies, while literally two rogues are stabbing you in the ankles, in the Achilles heel, while your mage is just trying to get cut in half by a warrior, and you're able to keep them both up, must feel awesome. I'm just wondering if it's possible to change WoW PvP in small ways to make it feel more epic, more exciting, more about plays, counter plays, rather than, you know, simplifications like, oh, I'm a healer, I heal. Oh, I'm a DPS, I'll just pew pew. Hey, there's a pillar, let's run around that when the enemies have their offensives. I'm a rogue, let me just sit in stealth up until my cooldowns are back up. No one will ever find me. Stuff like that. I don't know, it just makes me wonder if it's possible. Currently I'm enjoying Legion, currently I'm playing a lot more of it, I'm doing a lot more PvP and PvE, and I'm actually fairly alright with where the game is at. I have no idea what made me want to play PvP as much again all of a sudden, because for the last few, I guess, month now, I've been feeling like, not really feeling it, I don't really know, I kind of want to just Mythic Plus, I don't even want to know if I care about the new raid. Maybe it's the idea of classic servers, maybe it's the idea for Battle for Azeroth, the whole faction versus faction, I guess, setup and scenario that got me all hyped up and wants to smash some Alliance and Horde phase, no matter what tune I'm playing. And I don't really know, I'm doing a lot more arenas and such. But I'm wondering if it's possible to take some of the arenas and epic PvP combat that we have from a mechanics like dampening and pillars to something more where it's a lot more player skill, it's a lot more player control, it's a lot more player communication, player combination, past the idea of like, oh, let's throw a healer into an endless CC chain kind of deal. It's more like, okay, let me pop in, okay, the warrior's popping cooldowns, let me pop a defensive so then the healer can heal me and I can actually live through it. Maybe share a combination, maybe give healers a lot more damage so the healer can really go in and deal some damage, and so you're not all about healing all day, stuff like this. I don't really know if that's a possibility, you know, to have the game be slightly altered to where it's more about player inputs rather than mechanics within an arena. You know what I mean? I'm fine with the game as it is. I'm just wondering if it's possible to do anything differently. Because for some people, the idea of pillars and dampening is just so ingrained now, a lot of people can't even imagine the game without stuff like that. So I'm just wondering if there's any fresh ideas out there. I don't know. I just thought about pillars and how much we use them, and what if we didn't have them? You guys feel free to let me know your ideas and comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for the support on the channel. We hit 50k subs, and since 50k subs, the channel got growing even more and more and more. When you're watching this video, doing 5-5-1v1s on US later today, 5 p.m. Eastern. Just letting you know, if you want to participate, it's a Sunday. Most people would have a free day. I know you got school tomorrow and all, but hey, come by, check out the stream. I'd appreciate it. Just check out the stream, just subscribe, and hit the notification bell down below so you can catch the stream as soon as it shows up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you in the next video.